It's a pleasure to talk to everybody today, and I want to say hi to the SRK universe, the SRK universe Canada, and all of the Shah Rukh Khan universes around the world. My name is Kim. I'm a newer fan of Shah Rukh's from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I am also an adult living with Asperger's syndrome, and in this interview I'm tackling some Shah Rukh Khan related questions, both the serious side of it, looking at some of the interview questions that he said and how I feel about them, and the lighter side, and of course, you know, just totally opening up about how I feel about Shah Rukh and his work, and what an amazing person and what an inspiration he's been in my life. So this is the first of two sections on this. The second part of this will be a longer interview, documentary style, done on Asperger's syndrome, in which I will give all of the Shah Rukh Khan fans, as well as all my family, friends, and colleagues, a very, very in-depth, carte blanche look into my world. So I want to thank all of you for listening. I want to thank all of you for being enormous fans of Shah Rukh's, and from my heart to yours, thank you so much. The first time I ever came across Shah Rukh Khan was actually on iTunes, and I wasn't even looking for any of his music or anything to do with him. I was actually looking for an electronic musical artist named Protoculture, and I ran across his track and several others. One of the other tracks had a title that sounded almost Indian in origin, and because of that, in the iTunes player, when it brings up, or in the iTunes store rather, when it brings up like other suggestions, it brought up a whole bunch of tracks from Shah Rukh Khan's movie Om Shanti Om, and you know, I got a little curious. I'm like, you know, what's the scoop? What are these? And I hit the play button on one track whose title I still can't say properly, so I'm not even going to try. And I couldn't quit dancing. That was the end of the story. So that was actually the first track I grabbed, was that particular piece. I put the movie title into YouTube and subsequently ran across that sequence in YouTube. And I remembered watching it and going, dang, who's the hottie in the red shirt? And I remembered also thinking, can this guy dance? Like, wow, dance. He was fantastic. So that was my first experience with Shah Rukh Khan, and as they say, the rest is history. I am a big fan of Shah Rukh Khan. I admit I'm not maybe, you know, as long a fan of his as some of the other people who have been hooked on him for like most of their lives since they were little. What makes me a big fan of Shah Rukh is that he puts his heart behind every role he plays, and he does that not just with some movies, but he does that with everything. It is amazing to see the effort that he puts behind his work, and in particular, one particular film where he actually portrayed a character who has Asperger's syndrome, and that particular film was enough for him to instantly garner my respect and my admiration. What also inspires me with Shah Rukh Khan is the fact that he's been able to retain what I would call his humanity. And, you know, he doesn't have a huge ego or anything like that, like some of the other stars that I've seen in films. And I think there's maybe two other people that I can think of who are famous who have been able to actually do that. So that really is a big part of what lets me admire Shah Rukh in that particular aspect. I would say My Name is Khan is definitely my favorite out of the films of Shah Rukh's that I've seen. I would say it's definitely my favorite film. It's the acting in there is just absolutely spectacular, and the score, the musical score, just is the icing on the cake. But I think what really makes it an amazing film is the amount of external research that Shah Rukh himself did. And then also the production team did a ton of external research with that film. So I mean, it takes somebody like Shah Rukh Khan to play a role like that, because I don't know of any other actor that I think would ever do anything like that. Yes, I absolutely do. As somebody with Asperger's syndrome, I remembered seeing that movie and thinking, where was this when we needed it years ago? Because with Asperger's, people who maybe don't have that kind of experience or don't have Asperger's often tend to associate Asperger's in film with films like Rain Man or Mozart and the Whale. But this particular film, My Name is Khan, is a perfect example because you see absolutely everything. You see the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to Asperger's. And he portrayed the disability so accurately. I mean, it was almost frightening to see how accurate he really was. It was amazing. And I am absolutely incredibly proud of him for that. I actually almost didn't make it through the whole movie. There were several instances the first time I ever saw it where I was in tears through the film because in many aspects it paralleled my own life. There are certain scenes where there are issues such as intolerance, bullying, hazing, teasing, things like that, that really are very close to my heart because I experienced a lot of that. I was overwhelmed on seeing that film, and it really, really, really moved me. It was a very powerful and very emotional film, and it really made me realize that, you know, there are people who do care, and there are people, you know, famous or otherwise, who do care enough to give a voice to a disorder like this. And I'm very, very proud of him for that. I agree with it because I don't think it's just that intolerance will take us into the dark ages. I think we are already there. And with that, I mean, intolerance comes in many forms. With that, what I often see is that a country's intolerance of, you know, other cultures and other countries is also based on what its leaders think of other cultures and countries. And a lot of times that kind of intolerance is because a person's view or a leader's view of other cultures and countries is rooted in the past because that was when they last met. And I really think it's important for our world leaders to get their heads out of the past and into the present, because when you stay stuck in the past, you breed like intolerance and non-acceptance, and that really isn't a good idea. It's painful and it hurts. Oh man, asking me which stage performance or music video is my favorite of Shah Rukh Khan's is like asking someone who's a Michael Jackson fan what their favorite song is. Oh, he's got a few that are like that. I actually would say one of my favorites was a musical video that he was in called Aya India, and it was the Cricket World Cup theme or the Pepsi World Cup theme, I think, for cricket, for 2015, but I'm not sure. Or no, it was before that. Pardon me, I do remember that, but I don't remember what year. Stupid me. With that though, Shah Rukh said that one of his saddest moments is when people question his patriotism. I remembered seeing that video and thinking very clearly two things. One, anybody who can question Shah Rukh's patriotism needs to see that video because it's amazing. Two, if you question Shah Rukh's patriotism, you question mine and probably all of his fans as well. And that I won't put up with. You know, to question his is to question mine. And I don't like being questioned on things like that. It's a very, very personal issue. It's a very powerful issue. And patriotism is not just what you do for your country. It's what you feel in your heart for the country that you live in and love. That's a very good question. Have I mastered any of Shah Rukh's steps? I have, a few of them. I've pulled from quite a few of his videos, Marjani being one where I had a fantastic accident with that one involving a bookcase. I had thrown one particular sequence, I had the reach, and I knew there was an elbow throw which spins you around, but I couldn't tell if he was throwing the elbow going right or left. So I set myself up as if I were facing, you know, as if I were in the same position he was, and realized he was throwing the elbow going left, and then the reach is to turn around back to the right. And I didn't leave myself enough room the second go round. I turned around to reach back to the right, and my shoulder connected with the bookcase. And, and it was definitely one of my most embarrassing moments. And I remembered clearly, I remember just laughing because it was so ironic. And I remembered also thinking, thank God Shah Rukh never saw that one because I would have been humiliated. I have mastered steps from some of his other music videos. Love Mera Hit Hit is another one that I really like. The punch is a really tricky one because there's a punch and then there's a simultaneous kick as well. So you really have to land the timing on that one, and it's a little tricky when you do. But yeah, there's quite a few others where I've been, and some where I'm still working on the steps. But you know, outside of that, it's a ball. Like, I almost get a better workout dancing with his music than I do going to the gym. Although when you do both, it's worth it. So, and it's a lot of fun. I would probably, my jaw would be like halfway to, I don't know where by now. If he were to walk into the room, the first thing I would probably do is give him the enormous hug that he very, very definitely deserves. But I think I would also probably be fighting a lot of tears because it would mean a lot to me to meet him in person. I know, knowing where I live, that will never happen, but, you know, it's fun to dream.